Well, hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jade, and today I wanted to share our infertility journey and how we finally fell pregnant with our daughter. So grab a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's dive right into it. So in 2020, my husband and I got married, and we were still pretty young. I was 23, he was 27, and we thought we would just wait about a year before starting a family. But so fast tracking, a year later, we went on a trip down to Cape Town to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. And I remember telling my husband when we had come back that I felt slightly different this time. So I don't know if I was, pregnant, or my period was coming, or I don't know. Something felt different. I wasn't experiencing any morning sickness or any of those symptoms and stuff, but I just felt a bit like a little butterfly almost. So I decided to take a pregnancy test the next morning. The pregnancy test came back positive. I was very excited because, it was our first month of trying and it already happened so quickly. Then a couple of days later, I went to hospital to do some blood work and just to make sure all my HCG levels were right and just to see how far along we were. And later that evening we came home, and I remember telling my husband that I was cramping. I don't know if I was pregnant or having a miscarriage or what was going on. So in South Africa, blood work tends to take about 24 hours before you get results back. So I had to wait, and because it was a weekend, I had to wait a little bit longer. So I had a hot bath, relaxed. Later that evening, I got my period. So I didn't know what to think about that. So either I was pregnant and having a miscarriage, or the pregnancy test I used was faulty. So I don't know what to think of that whole situation. Each month would come and go, and nothing was happening. So I think it was about a year and a little bit. My husband and I discussed that, we've been trying now for over a year and nothing's happening. And throughout those months that we were trying, I would take pregnancy tests or my period would come. And on top of that, I did start having irregular periods. So I don't know what was happening during that period of time. So in August the following year, so it now had already been about a year of trying, I decided to go and visit a gynae. This was my first time visiting a gynae. Throughout my whole, womanhood, I'd never experienced any issues or problems. So I went to this doctor's appointment. I explained my whole story and what was going on. Then he did a couple of tests and checks, and he suggested that I do a hysteroscopy procedure. So hysteroscopy is going into your uterus to check and see, what issues you have in your uterus. So 2 weeks later I had to go do that procedure. Everything went well, came out. At my follow-up, he then explained to me that I had POLYPS, and another reason why I was maybe struggling was maybe because of polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I had done a lot of research up until this point to try and figure out what could be the issue, what I could do to try and fall pregnant on my own without any medical help. So I was aware about the PCOS and all of those things. So I was a bit shocked when he had told me this, because I had never had any issues, up until he told me that I was diagnosed with PCOS. So it was a bit of a tough pill to swallow, because I knew a lot of women struggled falling pregnant with this, and I was starting to, you start thinking of all these things of how you're going to fall pregnant, what are you going to have to do. You have to think of fertility treatments. There's just so many things that go through your mind, and how long is it going to take us to actually fall pregnant. There's just a lot. He suggested I take a Mirena, which is a contraceptive that they insert into your uterus, and it apparently releases hormones into your uterus, and he suggested I get that for about 5 years. So that was just way too long for us. So that was just not going to work for us. So I then had to tell him Well, I'll have to come back in a couple of months' time. Let me think about what we had discussed. But the Mirena for me was just not an option. I don't know how you might feel about it, but it was just not an option for us. So we went home. A couple of months passed by. We went back for a checkup, and we had discussed what are we going to do going forward if we don't do the Mirena. When I went into this, when I had gone into this appointment, it was still sort of during COVID times. I was so emotional. I was crying when I walked into there. Thankfully, I had a mask on, so you couldn't see exactly what I was doing. But I was crying throughout the whole appointment. It was terrible. I didn't know how to feel. I had so many mixed emotions. I felt like, why is this happening? Like, it was hard. It was really hard. I said to him that the Mirena wasn't going to work for us. That what if we do a D&C to clean my uterus out? He said, no, that is not an option for you. I then mentioned to him about a latrozole, the latrozole pole, the latrozole pull. It's like a course you go on that stimulates your ovaries to release egg. He said, no, that's not an option for you either. Nonetheless, I left it, and I left the appointment, and I said, okay, I'm gonna have to think about this some more because I'm not doing the Mirena. For about a month, I started doing some homework to try and find other doctors in my network, and I had found a doctor, although I never went with her. She was a fertility specialist, but I did not feel comfortable going ahead with her, and it was December, so I didn't think anything of it because it was holidays, and we just left it at that. Then the following year, I found a wonderful doctor. She was phenomenal, honestly. She when I made my appointment with her, so this was now already going on a year and a half of trying to fall pregnant, or just over a year and a half. I would say it's probably about 17 or so months of trying now. Every month we were trying, regardless of the circumstances or issues or whatever. I met up with the doctor in February, and she was phenomenal. We went into our appointment. I explained our whole history. She then said, okay, that was strange that the doctor didn't want to put you on latrozole. He didn't want to put you on a hormone just to maybe regulate you. And it was strange that he didn't do a D&C, even though he had found polyps in my uterus when we had done the hysteroscopy. So it was weird for her as well. So she then to me that we should maybe do a D&C, which is a scraping where they clean your whole uterus out. She said we should do a laparoscopy, which is an incision they make through your belly button and above your ovaries, if in case they can't get to your ovaries via your belly button. So that was going to happen. And then she also said that we should do a hysteroscopy, which is when they insert a little camera with a little scalpel going into your uterus from under. So that's what she said we were going to do. And she said she was also going to do to check a dye thing where they check your fallopian tubes. So I was happy with that. We went ahead with that. Everything went well, everything went great, although I had a bit of cramping in that, and I was like sort of spotting for about 10 days, but everything went really well. Then a week later we went back for our follow-up, and she explained to me that she could not find anything that was wrong. My fallopians were clear, my uterus looked healthy, there was no issues that she could see why I was struggling to fall pregnant. My ovaries were healthy. So it was just strange, She said there was no polyps in my uterus. Like, it was odd. So she said, okay, Jade, you're going to go heal. And then when you come back, if nothing's happened then we're going to do a latrozole treatment, which is a treatment you take for 6 months. It's a little pill that you take for 5 days each month until you fall pregnant. If you don't fall pregnant, then we will go ahead with the fertility. We will go to a fertility clinic. So our 3 months went by. Those were so long and torturous, but eventually those 3 months came to an end. They're gonna put me on the letrozole treatment for 6 months. If you don't fall pregnant, then we'll go from there. So I got the medication. I started immediately because my period was due like within the next day or two. So you have to have your period. So from the first day of bleeding, you take the pill every month, every day for 5 days. And you wait for the cycle until your next, period comes again. So first month came, did the treatment, nothing happened. It was a bit heartening, but I could sort of see that my menstrual cycle was becoming more regular, which was amazing because I was having a lot of irregular. I was bleeding for like 3 months, having a period for 2 weeks. Like it was just, my period was all over the show. I was bleeding for 3 months, nothing for 2 weeks, then bleeding again for 2 months. It was crazy. Second month came, and towards the end of the month, I was 4 days late. So I said to my husband, should we take a pregnancy test because I'm 4 days late? But then again, this has happened so often. Should we wait like another couple of days before taking a pregnancy test? So I bought a couple of pregnancy tests and I took it the next morning. I don't know about you, but I'll insert a picture of what it looked like. It looked like an evap line. So I've had that before, but I didn't. So I assumed, okay, no, this is not happening because I've had this before and I was not pregnant. So I decided, okay, it's probably an evap line. I'm not going to think anything of it. Then the next morning I took another pregnancy test. It looked again like an evap line. But now I'm like, okay, with this brand, I'll insert a picture of what it looked like. With this brand, I had never gotten a line like this. So I started getting my hopes up high. I was like, oh my word, is this actually happening? Either I'm testing too early or I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure that there was a line. So I left it I showed my husband and he's like, no, I don't see anything. I don't see what you see. And I'm not going to get my hopes up high because, you don't know what's happening. So I left it for 2 days and then I tested again. And this time it was so much darker. And I was like, oh my word, this is actually finally happening after 2 years. Like you don't know how to feel because you're so emotional, but at the same time I was so tired of crying and feeling the way I did that I didn't know how to feel, if I was excited or you don't know. It's weird. You don't know how to feel. Then I tested every single day after that day, like just to make sure my line was getting darker, my HCG levels were getting higher, and I just was in such disbelief that we were actually pregnant finally. So I will show you a picture of me testing and testing and testing. Like I just didn't stop. And then I finally booked an appointment on the 9th of August. And our little scan, we finally went to go see her and to confirm that we were actually pregnant. And yeah, we were finally pregnant. So like, I just want to say to you, if you are in the same boat, don't give up. It can be a long journey. It is a long journey. It's strenuous. It's like there's a lot of emotions going through your mind. It can be really, really hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard, but stay faithful. Don't give up. Your time will come. Your journey will start. And like another thing, like if you don't feel comfortable with a doctor, change your doctor. If I had stayed with that doctor, I would not be where I am now. So yeah, I just wanted to share a bit of our infertility journey. It was hard and difficult, but we finally fell pregnant, and my pregnancy was amazing. Like nothing went wrong. Each like in the beginning at my 10-week scan, that was a bit of a scare because the doctor said she couldn't hear a heartbeat. So that was stressful, I won't lie. I was like, oh, this is not happening to me. But other than that, my entire pregnancy was so amazing. I didn't have any cravings. I didn't have issues. Each scan was just, each appointment we had with the doctor went so well. It was shocking. I didn't have morning sickness, no symptoms whatsoever. I didn't even feel pregnant up until I got to 34 weeks pregnant. It was honestly amazing. My whole pregnancy was a dream. But I mean, at 6-7 months, I was still painting her walls in her bedroom. I did not feel pregnant whatsoever. At 34 weeks, that's when I did start feeling very pregnant, because the heaviness in your cervix and in your uterus, you feel the heaviness. So yeah, my pregnancy was just amazing, and I have nothing to say negatively about that. It went so well. But yeah, that's just my story, a little bit of my infertility story and my pregnancy. But I would love to share our birth story. That is what I will be sharing in the next video. My birth story did not go according to plan. It was completely not what I expected. It was a very negative experience for me, to be honest. I mean, taking my pregnancy so positively, and it went so well. All of a sudden, to that last hour, changing my whole birth plan. It was emotional. I actually don't even know how to explain how I felt about it. If you are struggling, will come to an end, and that you'll finally start your family. And I hope that your pregnancy will be as amazing. And all the best for the future if you're expecting, or if you are a mom already. Congratulations to you. But anyway, I do look forward to seeing you in my next video, so please do subscribe and stay tuned to hear about my birth story. Thanks guys, bye for now.